Welcome to Hero's Journey Physio Fitness. Our mission is to empower, inspire, and mentor people to reclaim their health and become self-reliant in their fitness. I'm your host, Dr. Cameron Hogue. Join with me as my co-host, Annabelle Rios.
Okay, we are going live in 3, 2, 1. Welcome, guys, to Hero's Journey Physio Fitness. Today is a very special day. We have a guest, someone that I guess Cam and I have been wanting to talk to for a while. We've watched his videos. We've followed his company. Who's this guest, Cam?
So today we have Grant Broggi. Am I saying that correctly, Grant?
Yeah, good enough. I'll clean it up later.
Okay, thank you. We have Grant Broggi. He's a Marine officer. He's the owner of the Strength Co. He's a starting strength coach and a member of the starting strength seminar staff. But Grant, for those of our listeners who don't know you, do you mind just giving like a quick background on yourself?
Yeah, I think that's pretty accurate. Grant Broggi is how I say it on YouTube.
Okay.
Although my dad has always said Grant Broggi. Legend has it that my grandfather, the Italians, were Broggi. The Irish people weren't intelligent enough to say it correctly, so they just changed it to a hard G. I don't know if that's true, but yeah. Anyway, I think that's an accurate description. Yeah, I think leading with Marine officer, that's kind of what got me into my career field of now, being a strength coach. The original deal was training Marines and trying to get Marines stronger. And so that's kind of how I found first CrossFit, then starting strength, and then eventually got my starting strength certification and opened a gym. And now I like to kind of think we're like a one-stop shop for strength. If you're coming for equipment, we can get you equipment. If you're coming for coaching advice, we can get you coaching advice. If you're just coming from free information on programming or, injury rehab, if you're trying to get stronger, one-stop shop.
That's legit.
No, definitely. And I guess you mentioned a little bit of the Marines. Is that when you first got into fitness, or were you already active before starting the Marines?
Yeah, I would say I was already active for sure. I played rugby in college, and I kind of got into CrossFit right when it came out. And then when I got into the Marines, I think I got my first platoon, and I realized that there was a specific characteristic that they lacked, and that was strength. So they may be fit, they may be able to run 3 miles in under 20 minutes, may be able to do a bunch of chin-ups or push-ups or whatever, but they didn't have a lot of physical strength. And so that's what kind of got me more into the strength coaching side of things specifically.
Is CrossFit big in the Marines?
It was. It's not as big as it was, but just kind of like, I think in 2007 is when I started like following the main site on CrossFit. And then when I went to the Marine Corps, it was like this, hey, have you heard of CrossFit? And
yeah.
It's kind of like the Marines thought it was cool because it's like a hybrid of the two worlds, and it kind of made sense. And then I'd say over the years, there's definitely people that still do it, but it's not as much of a thing as it was.
Gotcha. Did you kind of enjoy that when you did it, or were you kind of looking for something different while like in the Marines and all that stuff?
Well, I think CrossFit circa 2010 was a lot different than CrossFit 2023, right?
That's true.
I joined a CrossFit gym in 2008 in Virginia, Potomac CrossFit. It was like the first one on the East Coast. And I always tell people, you went in and it would be like, okay, work up to a heavy set of 5 in your back squat. And then, deadlift 3 sets of 5 at 80%. Okay, strength work is done. Now run around the building 4 times and do 10 push-ups in between each set. Like, it was all like very like reasonable and logical.
Yeah.
And then by the time in 2010, I actually went with a team to compete out at the games. And I remember there was like a handstand walk, and I was just worthless to the team because I'm like, I walk on my feet, not on my hands. So yeah, I wouldn't say I ever was like, I'm over CrossFit. It was just, I just kind of like naturally went away from it. And I found Ripito and starting strength through CrossFit in those early years. He wrote for the Journal. And
Did he?
so
Okay.
yeah. So if you go back, there's a lot of old school articles, a lot of which ended up in the book. So that's how I first found that.
That's interesting. Because one of our questions is like, how do you get into starting strength if you kind of
how do you
started with?
find it?
So I guess it was Ripito in the CrossFit.
I guess
Yeah, yeah.
CrossFit isn't
Well,
useless after all.
that's right. CrossFit's good for something. I actually found Windler and Strong Lifts first,
Okay.
and then I was on the Strong Lifts blog, and I was like, I've read this low bar squat thing before.
Mm.
And then I went, I was like, oh, Rippetoe. I used to read his articles. This is, I started reading in '08. This is maybe 2011. I was like, oh, he has a book now. And I bought the book, and yeah, that's how I found it.
So this is maybe off topic here, but so I guess were you like high bar squatting before, and then once finding that started to transition more into low bar?
To be quite honest with you, I don't know what I was doing before. Because I didn't, like most people, I was ignorant. I didn't know there was a
Yeah.
high bar squat. I didn't know there was a low bar squat.
You probably
Um,
assumed what deadlifted, didn't you?
yeah, I probably sumo deadlifted. I probably trap bar deadlifted. No, I definitely didn't do that. But yeah, I would. For me, it wasn't like a hey, I was squatting high bar. Now I should squat low bar because of these things. It was like,
Hmm.
okay, let me actually learn how to do these movements. And I mean, for me, again, if you're just a general strength trainee, well, why would you not pick a way that allows you to move the most weight? Doesn't mean that a high bar is bad by any means,
Right.
but
Mm-hmm.
if this one uses more muscle mass, I'm going to do that one.
No, that makes sense. Um, so kind of transitioning kind of into your current, training philosophy, what would you say you kind of fall under? It's like to give the viewers, almost your philosophy, so to speak, on training in general.
Yeah, so I'd say the most important thing about training is that you actually have to do it. No, but I mean, as coaching people for a long time, I think the biggest thing that I found is most people will not do this consistently. And I think a program like Ripito Starting Strength, there's nothing better. If you're just getting started, you are weak. And even if you're naturally stronger than other people, if you've never gone, applied a stress, recovered from said stress, adapted to that stress, and then applied a greater stress and done that over some length of time, and we could argue about how long you could do that, then that is the best bang for your buck in the gym. Because if you get stronger, all aspects of physical fitness improve. So a program like Starting Strength, 2 workouts, squat, press, deadlift, squat, bench, deadlift, add 5 pounds, do that. The problem is as you do that, it gets heavy and it gets hard. And it turns out that people don't like to do things that are hard. And
Mm.
so what happens is they either start to they stop going to the gym or they start choosing something else and they never continue to see the growth that happens. And so to answer your question, what is my training philosophy now? It is you should have a basis of strength that I think if you're weak, there's no better program than the one I just talked about. Sorry, camera cut off for a second there. Um, and then on top of that, though, you need to have some conditioning and a healthy body weight. I think strength isn't the only thing. I think it's the first thing to prioritize.
Mm-hmm.
But if someone has a 450-pound deadlift and they're, I don't know, 100 pounds overweight,
Yeah.
should I get them to a 500-pound deadlift? Or should I keep them at 450 or over 400 and help them with weight loss? Right. So I
Yeah.
do think it needs to be a holistic approach, but I think most people want to get into the weeds rather than just doing the simple thing that
Yeah.
needs to be done. And it's more fun to talk about. It's more fun to, whatever.
Do you say lift heavy, compound lift? And as far as cardio, is there a preferred type of cardio that you recommend for your clients?
Yeah. So in general, if I have like a real consistent person, I'll tell them lift 3 days a week. Then I want one hit session. A high intensity interval training could
Mm-hmm.
be on a separate day or it could be after a training session. I like things like farmer's carries, sled pushes, assault bikes, rowers, whatever. 5 to 6 rounds of maybe a minute of very hard breathing with some type of rest. There's a ton of variables there.
Right.
And then if the person has time for a fifth session, a longer, slow distance, elevated heart rate, maybe 45 minutes to an hour. And I always tell people to like make that normal or make that a part of their life. Like my wife and I, once a week, we go and hike somewhere. It might be a trail right outside our house. We might drive somewhere, but I'm not like on the Stairmaster at the gym slugging away, right? Like I go and try and do something that's enjoyable, but
I,
also
I don't know.
physically.
That might be a good look on you, Grant.
Yeah, thanks. I'll give it a shot.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is prioritize strength, but don't make it the only thing. Be consistent. And if there's an issue with body weight, if you're strong, then work on that. Work on cutting some of that weight down.
Yeah, exactly. I think the problem with such a great program where you're adding weight to the bar is people fall in love with the bar, the weight
Yeah.
on the bar, right? They fall in love with, I want to squat more. And so that's a job of a coach, as you guys know, and it's a job of keeping people consistent, right? Because I've seen it time and time again. I have a guy coming to the gym. I build his deadlift up to 400 pounds. He quits the gym. I said, what are you quitting the gym for? He goes, oh, my wife's been calling me fat for 3 months, but I wanted to deadlift 405, so I just told her to hang on. What are you going to do now? Oh, I'm going to go do spin class in Pilates. It's time to lose weight. I'm like, wait, what?
Like, no.
Yeah. So now you got to start to manage those things a little bit earlier on. And try to get people, I would say 80% of what they need, 20% of what they want.
No, it is true. You fall in love with the number on the bar going up and up, and then you're saying, you keep saying, I'm going to cut, but then you never cut. You keep bulking.
Exactly.
The constant bulking season.
Yeah.
Real thing.
Dirty bulk, 365.
Yeah.
That's right.
So I guess with nutrition, what's your overall nutrition philosophy as a whole? And also, how many gallons of milk do you drink per week?
So I drink 12 gallons of whole milk a week. No, I'm just kidding. Nutrition's, it's tough because, it's like the gym, right? There's so many different avenues you could go. But if I usually, when I coach people with nutrition, the first thing I tell them is, hey, habit one is just walking to the gym 3 days a week. And they're like, no, I asked you about nutrition. I'm like, I know. Like, let's just get you coming to the gym 3 days a week. Okay, boom, we check that habit. Now let's start talking about what you're eating. I usually tell men and women to first just eat more protein than they currently are.
Mm-hmm.
And people don't like to track, people don't like to weigh, people don't like to measure. So I'll just say, hey, I want you to add in one protein shake on top of what you're doing, right? And then get that protein intake up. And then it's like small wins when you're coaching people. You start to just ask people about their day, and you realize wow, this guy drinks a caramel macchiato 3 mornings a week from Starbucks.
Yeah.
Which is great because that's such an easy fix. It's like, hey man, do everything you're doing in life. You don't have to weigh, you don't have to measure, you don't have to do anything. Stop drinking that thing.
Yeah.
Well, what do you mean stop drinking? Just go drink black coffee. And like that, that's, maybe 1,500 calories he's saving over the course of 7 days. But to succinctly answer your question on nutrition, I would say, high protein diet. I think red meat is fine. There's nothing wrong with it. It's got plenty of creatine in it. You can eat fish, you can eat chicken, and then colorful foods, right? Veggies, single processed, not stuff that comes in plastic bags and gets opened up, right? Vegetables, and then just a simple carbohydrate. So protein's high. I like to keep fat relatively low because you're going to get fat within your protein. So I don't I don't recommend people chase avocados and almonds. Sorry, Californians, but I need proteins and carbohydrates to work out. If I'm eating a bunch of ribeyes, my fat content's probably already going to be kind of high or higher. And then carbs are like your throttle. Hey, did I only get my 3 weight training sessions in and I didn't do that long, slow distance and I didn't do that HIIT session? Maybe I need to eat a little bit less. But I try to teach people to tie their intake to their output and make it more intuitive.
So I really like what you're saying here because you're wanting people to be consistent. And then on top of that, you're just starting to tweak things that they're already doing instead of doing a 180 and say, you're going this way. Well, now you're going all vegan and, it's black coffee from here. You're just saying adding in or taking away a little bit at a time once they can prove that they can do it and make it a habit.
It's the same philosophy we use when we talk programming, right? Like strength programming. Someone gets stuck. It's well, I'm not going to change every variable of this program and turn it on its head if the person's been having goals. I'm going to say, hey, where's the issue? Okay, let's change one variable and see what happens. And in the food department, there's usually so many easy wins. It might be the sugary drink. It might be sodas. It might be the guys drinking a 6-pack every night. And so you have to find a non-invasive way to talk to people about this and kind of figure out where they are. And then, just kind of help them from there. Sometimes I've had people that, eat Chick-fil-A every day. I'm like, okay, Next time you go to Chick-fil-A, get 2 sandwiches, skip the fries. They're like, well, why would I do that? I'm like, well, you'd increase your protein intake and you decrease like some carbohydrates and probably some fat. And like, so, I mean, sometimes it's little stuff like that.
Because it's the Lord's chicken.
That's right. It's the Lord's chicken.
So would you say like your train or how does your like training and nutrition maybe differ maybe from the mainstream, like maybe things you see on TikTok and YouTube and all that stuff? Are there things that you find that are kind of differ from that?
Yeah. So here's how my thoughts on nutrition differ from the mainstream. When you see the girl on Instagram holding the giant piece of pizza and like the cheese is like dripping into her mouth and she says like cheat day and she
Yeah.
weighs 85 pounds, she didn't eat that. She's lying to you. Right? When you look at a guy and he's 55 and he has a six-pack and he's jacked and you're like, oh, what kind of diet plan do you follow? He goes, oh, I don't really watch what I eat. I just, once in a while I have diet sodas. And you're like, that's not true. Like you're totally throwing cheese off of your burger, not eating the bun. Like I know how this works. No, I say some of that kidding, but I think a lot of stuff on the internet it's just not factual, right? People want to
Mm.
show a lifestyle that's a lot of times not possible. But I think I probably like meat right more than the modern society does. I mean, I think we used to be there, but now the rise of veganism and other diets, less people are doing that. I don't like things that make you end up, I don't like following diets that end up making you follow the diet. So for example, keto, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I'd make the argument
Hmm.
that you would perform better if you had some carbohydrates. I am a proponent of fasting. Maybe we want to talk about that. There's nothing wrong with ketosis. What I don't like is you have a keto guy and all of a sudden he's eating like keto bars, right? And it's like a
Oh,
highly processed to
yeah,
fit
it's
to
junk.
fit the deal,
Yeah.
right? Same with paleo. I did paleo for a long time. Again, none of these things are bad, but I want to eat real food, right, from animals or from the ground,
Hmm.
and like I don't want to eat a bunch of highly processed stuff. So I don't care which diet you follow. I want you to follow something. I don't even like to say diet because when
Yeah,
I think diet, you think temporary, like, oh, I'm going on a diet.
right.
Hmm.
It's more like Liver King, whole feast.
You strike me as a carnivore, Grant.
Yeah, just a little bit.
No, I agree with what you're saying. There's a lot of things in the grocery store that'll have, you know, vegan Oreos or GMO friendly or paleo, and it's like, but this is like, 3 times through process. Like, come on.
Right. Wouldn't you just be better off eating a little bit of carbohydrates?
That's true. Okay, so you touched on fasting, and I thought this is I've read some of your blogs when you've gone through some long fast. Do you mind kind of telling us about that experience and maybe what you recommend maybe for some of your trainees and lifters and everything?
Yeah, so I think fasting is a really good um, discipline, and not to sound like the fitness gurus that talk motivation and discipline, right? But I do think it's a good way to keep your relationship with food in check, and then it's really good, I find, to teach folks that are trying to learn that intuitive eating, how much output versus how much input. Because when you go on a fast, day one's miserable. I mean, it's fine. And, then lunchtime comes, your stomach's growling, you're irritable. And the worst is like day one going to bed because it's so different than what you usually do. You usually are fed when you go to bed. Now you're not. So you sleep like crap. You wake up day two, though, and you're like, this is amazing. Do I even need food? Is food even something that is required? And then that dips throughout the day. And then the longest I've done is a 5 day. Um,
Jeez.
but I
Oh
think,
wow.
yeah, but I think it's a good way for people to, it kind of like resets, what they think they need to eat. Cause it is kind of amazing, you know, here we are, most of us eating 3 meals a day, like just like clockwork, like actually literally like clockwork because
Hmm.
it's morning. So here's my muffin and my whatever. Um, and so when you separate that and all of a sudden you don't eat for one day, it's just kind of mind blowing. Like, hey, maybe I was irritable, maybe I was mean to an employee or whatever. Kidding. But I just went 36 hours and I didn't eat anything besides water. So yeah, when I tell people to fast, or not tell them, but if I'm coaching them to a fast, I usually start with them like, hey, skip breakfast for like 4 days in a row, right? Just so they start to like, I want something, oh, I don't get that thing. And then
Mm-hmm.
like maybe day 5, don't eat, just like that whole day. And like, I don't recommend that anyone starts off with a fast. Again, if you're weak and need to get stronger, you probably need
Right.
to be eating right now. So it's a specific person that I think it's a good fit for.
And how do you coach someone who maybe you looked at them, you said, okay, they can do a fast depending on where they're at. Do they lift still? Do they back off some during that week or day? How do you
Yeah,
coach them for
yeah.
that?
So I like them to lift during the fast. I like to say when you fasted, you can handle a lot of intensity, but you can't handle much volume, right? So
Mm,
intensity, weight on the bar relative to my 1 rep max, volume, total tonnage. So like intensity might be a set of 3, right? That's very heavy relative to my 1 rep max versus a set of 5x5 that's 80% of my 1 rep max. So you can go in and do stuff. So I generally try to keep the weight on the bar very high, but the workouts are very short and there's not a ton of volume because so if I go and squat 500 pounds, right, for a single versus yesterday where I squat 385 5x5, I can squat 500 pounds for a single and not think about food the rest of the day. I squat 385 by 5x5 and I'm like cupcakes, pizza, like bagels, give me all the food. I'm starving. And so I think you can handle intensity, but not a ton of volume.
No, that makes sense. Um, what would you say are some maybe like common beginner mistakes? I know you've already alluded to just the consistency, people not wanting to show up, but what are some other maybe mistakes that you see some of your clients make?
Yeah, not to beat the dead horse, but sometimes you have to. But consistency is the number one thing,
mm-hmm.
right? Is and the reason I'll go into the other thing is they're consistent. Let's say they are consistent, and then they go on vacation, they have a work trip, something happens, and it's been 2 weeks since they've come back to the gym. They'll make the mistake of just trying to do the same weight that they did last time and not managing their expectations of, hey, I haven't been to the gym, for 2 weeks. So I think consistency feeds into a lot of stuff. But in terms of issues in the gym, so okay, for especially for like a linear progression, someone's getting stronger, they're adding 5 pounds every time, they're making progress. The press stalls, right? Boom, they're going, they hit 115 pounds, they get 443, they retry it, they get 422. So what do? Everyone for some reason goes, well, time to reset. And they take 20% off their press. So they take from 115 back down to 85. And then when 2.5 pound increments, they charge right back up. And what happens? They hit the same wall they hit last time. They get stuck at the same exact spot
Yeah.
and they're flabbergasted. I don't understand. I'm like, well, why did you think going down was going to do it? And so not understanding that, like, I have to balance this stress and this recovery. And if something is stuck, one of two things is happening. It's either undertrained or it's overtrained. For the press and the bench press, usually for beginners, that 3 sets of 5 is a stimulus enough for a little while, and then they get stuck because it's undertrained. So they need to train it more. So the answer might be, hey, I actually am going to stay the same weight, but I'm going to go for 4 sets of 5 or 5 sets of 5, or I'm going to add in a pressing day on day 5 or 6. For the squat and the deadlift, you have the ability to add weight each time 3 times a week until all of a sudden you're strong. Now you're deadlifting 350 pounds. So if you deadlift 350 for 5 on Monday, 355 for 5 on Wednesday, and 360 for 5 on Friday, well, that's a whole heck of a lot of stress than you're capable of. And now your deadlift gets stuck because it's overtrained. So it's understanding the stress and recovery. And this is where, if you're a nerd like us, you watch all the podcasts and read all the blogs and you figure out how to do it. But for most people, I mean, this is why a boutique gym business exists, because it's like, hey, if you just show up, like we'll figure all that part out for you.
So once you have somebody who's completed the linear progression, what do you change? What variables are you looking to manipulate?
Yeah, so I just increase by 1 gallon of milk. So if they're on GoMad, we just add a second one now.
Beautiful.
Um, If they've gotten through NLP and people finish at different spots, I generally then like to ask the person what their goal is, right? Do they
Mm.
want to get leaner? Do they want to run a 5K? Do they want to, who knows? So at that point, at first I would tell them like, hey, your goal doesn't really matter. Like if you take your squat from 135 to 300, you're going to be better off no matter what your goal is, right? Like,
Mm.
so make getting stronger your goal. But now my squat's 300. So what's better for me to squat 400 or to now revisit those things I wanted to do? But in terms of programming, for most people, I put them on 2 lifts a day, 3 days a week. And what I have found is that for an intense intermediate that's training really hard, those workouts can end up taking like 2 hours.
Hmm.
And if an e-ball's training 2 hours, 3 days a week, when it's nighttime and he's been working all day and it's time to go to the gym and it's 7 p.m., he's like,
Yeah.
man, I'm being there till 9. Then I'm going to have to eat dinner. Then I'm going to have to wind down. So you start skipping. So I'd say, hey, I want to keep these workouts 60 to 75 minutes. And so for most of my intermediates, I have them on 2 lifts a day, 3 days a week, maybe with like another accessory movement at the end, but 2 major compound lifts is what I mean.
What are some of your favorite accessory exercises? We know
Sumo
it's not the
deadlift,
curls.
trap bar deadlift. Um, I like so for lower body stuff. For the deadlift, I like straight leg deadlifts. I like Romanian deadlifts. Right, I like stuff that still makes you set your back really hard um, and trains the posterior chain. But because the movement is lighter, because there's less muscle mass, it's not quite as taxing. Uh, I'm a big fan of curls. Not that I have giant arms, but I just think again, most people would benefit probably from getting some chin ups. And I know chin ups can be frustrating for people. Maybe they can't do them, but if you're getting your deadlift up and you're maintaining a healthy body weight, you can probably get one chin. If you can get one chin, we can now progress that. But so curls are fine. Yeah, squats, I don't change it up that much. I mean, front squats are fine, but most people struggle with the squat, so I'd rather them just get the practice of doing the back
Mm.
squat. Um, but yeah, I mean, for me personally, I want it as simple as possible. I mean, I don't do like I want to spend as few minutes in the gym as I can.
Yeah.
Hey, let me hit these big movements and then maybe hit one on the way out. I mean, we have a dumbbell rack in our gym here now, and so I'll often maybe squat and then bench, and then I'll grab the 45s and I'll do 10, and I'll grab the 40s, right? And I'll work my way down, and boom, I'll walk out the door. So yeah.
But this is also a good example of you put in the years of work lifting and being consistent where you can do a little bit, maybe quote like less, but still reap the benefits because you've already put and laid the foundation and built all the strength. And now you can, if you want to just do one lift or the 2 lifts or whatever, you can afford to do that. But you got to get to people have to get to that level first. But
That
as
No, I was just gonna say that is an absolutely great point that people miss. Is like sometimes my lifters will ask me now, so you just go and do one lift a day? I'm like, well, yeah, for 12 years I've been slugging it out against the barbell and I've gotten strong. So I can go in and do 3, 4 sets of five on the squat and leave. And it was so heavy that a whole lot of stuff happened because I've gotten strong. So it's almost like you need to do all this work to get up here. And then if you want to keep going up, you need to do even more work. But if you just
Mm.
want to stay there, you can actually like kind of dial it back a little bit. The amount of stuff that has to happen. But yeah, no, that's a great point.
we've alluded on our podcast, obviously about starting strength and stuff like that. But just in case, we've been talking about things like linear progression. You mentioned stress, recovery, adaptation. You've kind of mentioned like dropping down after that. Do you mind just telling everybody real quickly what starting strength is and what you coach beginners on, like the days and the exercises and everything?
Yeah, so it's just 2 workouts called workout A and workout B. Workout A, squat 3 sets of 5 repetitions, press 3 reps of 5 repetitions, or 3 sets of 5 repetitions, and deadlift 1 set of 5. And then workout B would be done 48 to 72 hours later, and it would be the squat 3 sets of 5 and the deadlift 1 set of 5. But instead of pressing, we would bench press. So we'd bench 3 sets of 5. So you have A and B, and ideally you lift 3 days a week. So if you lift on a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, then you would go A, B, A. The next week you would go B, A, B. You're just alternating those workouts. But yeah, I mean, and then you're just adding weight. So at the beginning, you're adding 5 pounds, and then very quickly on your press and your bench, you'll probably have to make a smaller jump to maybe 2.5 pounds. Males can run that for a long time. Women's, after 3-4 weeks, if they're training hard, might need to switch their sets of 5 to sets of 3. They're not as neuromuscular efficient, and so they're not able to get a set of 5. But you switch them to 3s, and they make progress for a long time. But yeah, it's just the big movements 3 times a week, adding weight. And then the book calls for power cleans once that deadlift, gets so heavy that you can't train it every time. I would say 50% of maybe 30% of people that follow the program ever do the power cleans, but that's okay.
They sound great in theory. You're like, oh my gosh, I'm about to power clean like 225. And then you're like, what's this form?
Yeah, that. And then it's like you got a 55-year-old guy coming in. He's complaining about shoulder pain the whole time. You have to like press him in with a forklift to get him into the low bar position. And that's like the last thing he wants to hear at the end of the workout is, and now it's time to learn the power clean. He's like, screw that.
Yeah, I definitely skipped the power clean. But I do want to say something about the book for everyone. It works, and you can run that for a very, very long time. I know a lot of the programs you see online are very complicated. They have like 5 or 6 different workouts, and then you're exhausted, and then you may not see progress. But this one, it may seem simple, but it works.
Yeah, I mean, we had a previous episode on how I put on 20 pounds, pretty much doing the starting strength method with some, variations and stuff. But it does work, and it does take consistency. And as Grant said, the weight gets heavy, and it's when you're wanting to work out after work and you're like, I've got a hour and a half workout, and one of the movements is squat, which is something is mentally taxing about knowing the weight is on you versus like, pressing over your head or deadlift you can drop. I don't know. There's something mental about the squat.
Yeah, maybe it's the fact that like there's 500 pounds. It's about to literally just disintegrate your body. But yeah, no, it's the deadlift you can always just let go. And the squat, the second you unlock your knees, you're in for, some type of ride.
It's like, have fun.
But yeah, exactly. Well, I think that's what's fun about this. If people are consistent, though, there's always like an aha moment. So they're coming into the gym. You're adding 5 pounds to their squat. You're adding 5 pounds to their squat. You're adding 5 pounds to their squat. And then one day they say, man, I can't believe I got that. There's no way I'm going up next time, right? And you say, no, you're going to go up next time anyway. Well, let's talk about it then. They come into the gym. So remember, I did 240 last time. I always call it negotiations. Gym members always want to make negotiations with you. So, and they tell you all the reasons that they can't do it. I'm like, 245 on the bar. What do you think I was going to tell you? And they do it. And then they're like, oh my goodness, you don't understand, Grant. I've been thinking about the squat since I walked out of the gym 48 hours ago. I was like, no, I do understand. I've been there. And that's why this is so effective. You have to put 5 more pounds on the bar and do it anyway.
That's right. It is funny. People negotiate, even like in physical therapy. I'll be like, hey, go warm up on the bike for 10 minutes and we'll get started. Like, what about 7? I'm like, just do the 10 minutes. It's not that hard.
Exactly.
We'll make it 8.
This is not a negotiation.
Yeah. 8:30 deal.
Okay. Okay. So I want to talk also about your company, the Strength Co. Give us some background on that. I know it started as a gym. I guess, like, when did you start your gym? And kind of why did you start your gyms?
Yeah. So I started coaching out of my garage and, for clients for money in 2016. I've been coaching a lot of Marines before that. And I kind of started it on accident. I had a lot of people come through. One day I realized that 80 people had signed like paper waivers for Broggi barbell in my garage. And I was like, well,
how are you getting some of these clients? Was it just word of mouth? Okay.
Starting Strength Directory is how they would come in, and then word of mouth. And again, this is a good point. So I'm like, you know what? What if I could train more of these people at once? I could charge them less. I could make more. This would be great. So, I started looking into a gym space, finally got the lease signed. It was, we started, I think, with 6. There's 8 racks in there now. We started with 6 or 7. But the idea was like, Cam, you squat while you're resting 4 minutes. I'm going to a knee ball while he's resting for 4 minutes. I'm going to the next guy. And, I can get a bunch of people done. Anyway, emailed all 80 people. Hey, it's been awesome training with you guys. You've opened the door. I'm going to open a gym. It's called the Strength Co. And you can all come for half off for the lifetime if you'll join. And I was like, I'm gonna have like 40 members tomorrow. One person signed up.
Oh my gosh.
One person signed up, and I was like, what is happening?
Oh my gosh.
So that was 2017, and then worked it. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of rabbit holes we go to, the Yelps, the Google reviews, the calls, the free clinics, the workshops, whatever. And it grew really well. And then I opened a second location in December of 18. So the first one, July of 17, second one, December of 18. And the first year over there, the demographic was better. It was kind of our demo, which is 40 to 65-year-old, men and women of above average incomes, kind of who ends up walking into our gym. And this second one was like right in the middle of that. And we opened and it was dead. And we did magazines, we did grocery cart, ads, we did radio stuff. Finally grew that one up. And I think January of 20, I was looking at the books. And I was like, heck yeah, we did it. We got 2 gyms making money. And then March of 2020, dun, dun, dun. But and I won't belabor that. We've talked about that, but that changed a lot. And to fast forward, the first gym still stands in Costa Mesa. Does great. Got a lot of great members there. The second one I closed. I fought it for a long time, and then just realized like, hey, this is a numbers game.
Was that your second gym that closed, or your first? Okay,
my second one. Yep. And then that was the same time that we kind of launched the product line. And then we've now since opened a gym here in South Carolina where I am now.
Wait, you're in South Carolina now?
Yeah, I moved to South Carolina in March of this year. So, yeah, wild. Guess we should talk about that beforehand.
Yeah, I thought you were still in Costa Mesa. If I said that right.
I get back there a lot, but yeah, no, my wife and I moved here this year.
I think you're talking before, but where's your wife from?
My wife is from Southern California, from Santa Ana. But yeah, as I was telling Anibal, her family's from Guerrero. Took me like 5 years to learn how to say that, so I'm going to say it like a couple times. Guerrero.
You said it right. You're good.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And it was like, no judgment. I got you.
Yeah.
So I guess talk to us a little bit about your product line. What do you sell? What do you have? What can people purchase from you?
Yeah, so our kind of, I would say, innovative product, as innovative as you can be, literally recreating a wheel, is a cast iron plates. And the biggest thing I wanted to solve there is when I opened those 2 gyms, I couldn't buy made in USA plates. A lot of people think that certain brands, everything's made in USA just because some of their stuff is, but there wasn't a plate out there. So I wanted to see if that was possible. I wanted to see, I didn't like that in my gyms. I'd buy the plates, they'd look good, and like a month in, all the paint's like chipped off and they look like crap. So like, how do we fix that? And then I wanted to be accurate. And so we launched those plates. We started designing them in March, and I think we launched them in August of 20. And it's been, I mean, I don't take my word for it, but it's the highest reviewed barbell plate on the market. People really love it. And so that's kind of our bread and butter. And then we've done some other stuff. We make bars. People really like the bars. We did squat racks and stuff for a while, but kind of zoomed out and said, hey, what are we good at? Like, what do we actually beat our competitors in our opinion on? It was, these other options. And we just launched some bumper lines. So you guys need to start doing your power clean and buy some bumpers.
We had saw, I think what's his name, Coop from Garage Gym Reviews. He loves your stuff. I think he was.
Yeah. He's definitely a big fan of the plates. I think we won his like best plates award. Did an interview with him that's up on our YouTube channel. That's pretty cool. So if you're interested in like how did that business start? I mean, I think I talked to him for like 2 hours, and it was like in 2020 when everything was fresh in my brain.
We'll make a note and we'll maybe link that. You said it's on YouTube.
Yeah, I'll find and put in the show notes.
Yeah,
we'll put in the show notes. So I guess what is one of the challenges that people may not think about or maybe even know about trying to be made in the USA?
Yeah, so I mean, a lot of it's just labor costs. I think one of the things that people don't realize is how many stages there are to build a product. So a lot of people will email us and they'll say, I got to pull out my Wisconsin accent. Yep, yep. But they'll call and they'll say, hey, I'm from Appleton. Can I just pick up at Wapaka? Wapaka's like 40 minutes from my house. I can't do that. It's turn it into New York. But anyway, and I'm like, no, you can't pick up at Wapaka. They're like, you don't understand. I know exactly where Wapaka is. I'm like, the plates aren't at Wapaka. The plates are casted at Wapaka, and then they have to go into a semi truck, and they have to drive an hour south to Slinger, where they get unloaded, and then they sit there, and then they get machined, and they leave there, and they go to Racine, and they have to get e-coated, and they get loaded back on another truck. Another human being has to get in that thing, right, and drive it to a warehouse. Well, which warehouse is it going to? Then I have to have boxes. The boxes can't just be like, oh, this box looks like it'll fit. Like you're literally shipping like torpedoes. So like it has to be like packaged well, fit perfectly. And so I think a lot of people like want made in USA or think it's important, or they say, oh yeah, well, no sweatshops kind of deal. But there's just a lot more stages where, imported stuff. I've quoted imported stuff just out of curiosity, but it's like pennies on the dollar to import. And I
Really?
think it's just, yeah. And I'm not an economist, but I think people just think that or forget that there's a lot of jobs that get you to that finished product, right? Like this spindrift, it's not like, there's the aluminum, there's the design. There's just a lot of stuff that goes into boom, this final product that you're using.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And I think in theory, people are like, yeah, I want to support America and buy from America. But what you're saying is like all these different processes cost money to
Right.
to ship from the one place to the other place to get it decoded. And did you run into any difficulties like figuring out the process of how you even like make plates?
Yeah, it's funny. So we just launched our bumper plates, and when we launched our cast iron plates, it was problem after problem. We didn't account for this. We made the tooling wrong. We had to make a revision. We boxed it like morons and paid double in shipping costs. And we didn't even have good shipping costs at the time. Whatever. Someone was asking the other day, so, well, how's the launch of the bumpers gone? I was like, great. And they're like, well, like what issues have you run into? I'm like, none. Like, wait, what? I was like, yeah, I've been thinking about the same thing. I guess 3-4 years of experience, and now it's like, oh, the infrastructure's there. Yeah, there's a lot of things you learn along the way, but it's shipping is huge, packaging is huge. Those are things I think we messed up in the early days. I'll put it to you this way: any package over 50 pounds gets a surcharge, rather large, from any carrier.
Hmm.
And when I first started shipping, I thought like less packages is cheaper. So I would take a 45-pound plate in a box and another 45-pound plate in a box, and then I'd use one of those poly strap machines and we'd strap it together. Well, every time there's a strap on a cardboard box, that's another surcharge because it can't go onto certain pulleys and systems. Oh, by the way, you didn't just hit the 50-pound surcharge, you also hit the 75-pound surcharge. And so here I am, we've like pre-launched
Goodness.
all these plates, right? Pre-sold them, and we ship them out. And, it says, because like when you buy your shipping label, it's not accounting for the surcharge. It's not telling you about a home delivery surcharge. So you're buying, I'm like, boom, this is great. And then you get the first invoice, you're like, I know nothing about anything. Right? Like, this is amazing. So, yeah, there's definitely mistakes and stuff we've run into. But now, like, for instance, when we're going into bumpers, it's okay, hey, I actually can kind of design this thing to say if I keep it under this many cubic inches, I can ship it cheaper. I know if I can ship it cheaper, then more people, like I have data to go from, and I already have an infrastructure, I already have shipping rates. But yeah, so it's launching new products is it's fun and rewarding, but it's definitely, there's always things you haven't thought of.
What are
And you
your
guys got the merch too.
Got that merch, got that USA
Yeah.
swag,
let's go.
right?
What are the weights on your bumpers? Like 45s, obviously. What others do you have?
Yes. So we did 45s, 25s, and 10s on the bumpers. And the reason being, okay, when I launched my plates, I did the iron ones. I did 45s, 25s, 10s, 5s, 2.5s. I now have 35s and 100s and 1.25s. I even made a video making fun of 35s. I even made a video, I wouldn't say making fun of bumper plates, but talking about why most people think they need them when they don't. But the line that we launched, I kind of aligned what I think is in view with like my beliefs of bumpers. You should buy cast iron plates for your gym. If you don't want to buy flooring or something, bumpers are useful. If you're running a program like Starting Strength, you might need 10s and 25s when you're first getting started because you're not strong enough to deadlift 135. So that can be useful for you. And if you end up power cleaning, a pair of 45s is nice. So if you get a guy and he has a cast iron set, and I say, hey, if you had 45s, 25s, and 10s, you can now power clean 205 with all bumpers, and then you can use your cast iron plates to kind of fill it in. So we may, if it goes well and people end up liking them, I could see us adding 15s and 35s. But that's what we launched with.
Nice. Have you thought, I guess CrossFit might be with Rogue maybe more, but maybe even some like local gyms you could advertise your new bumpers to them and everything.
Oh yeah. If anyone's listening, they're opening a gym, please call us. We love putting stuff in gyms. And yeah, we've already been definitely getting more into that market. The cast iron, we outfit a lot of gyms with cast iron. We just did CT Fletcher's gym. We're getting ready to do Larry Wheels' gym.
Oh, heck yeah.
So we definitely have some plates in some cool spots. But yeah, we're trying now to say, hey, not just the garage guy, or for the garage guy, a lot of people are just adverse to cast iron because they just think like, I don't know, their garage is going to implode if they deadlift with cast iron. So I think we'll pick up a lot there. And then exactly right, CrossFit community, definitely want to get in there.
How'd you get hooked up with CT Fletcher?
How did I get hooked up with CT Fletcher? A guy named Thomas Davis. So Thomas Davis is a powerlifter. He's the all-time bench press record holder for Raw. I'm like 95% sure that's right. Powerlifting guy. Nice. Yeah, and I'd seen him do something with him, and I just I said, hey, or he said he maybe told me CT loves your plates or something like that. I said, well, put me in touch. And well, I don't know, 2 months later, I was in his backyard and he was telling me about pig iron and how he wants to make a whole new plate line of 1-inch stuff, which we're looking into. So if you're interested in pig iron on the website, there's a pig iron newsletter sign up.
I'll just check that out.
Yeah.
Are you working on anything else that you'd want to share with the listeners or anything like that? Or are the bumpers the biggest and newest thing?
Yeah, bumpers are definitely the newest thing. We are looking into some 1-inch weights. So in all seriousness, if you're interested in that, please, sign up. We're getting people to sign up already. It's a good way to gauge interest. And we're hoping that if we can make that work, we could also make a pro style dumbbell line. So if you've ever seen the dumbbells, rather than like the hex with the rubber coating, but it's actually like plates fastened on, fixed dumbbells. So again, we're kind of like in the idea design phase. But we're looking at that, and then I'd still like to get kilogram plates, USA kilogram plates in the market. No one's done it, so I think that'd be cool. So I'll be in Wisconsin next week, talking to a few companies that might be able to help us there. But besides that, cast iron and the bumpers. I mean, it's the best stuff for home gyms. People love the bars too. Basement Brandon, I mean, he's reviewed our bars against everyone else's, and it's like, this is just as good. It's my daily driver. So yeah, we've gotten some high praise for those as well.
Well, I've already before you launched your line, I had already bought a lot of my home gym stuff. And whenever I revamp,
yeah, right before you launched, Grant, I swear I was gonna buy your stuff. It was like the day before. No, it's fine.
No, but I've seen all like good reviews on your stuff, and we'll definitely link that to in the show notes. That way, our viewers can kind of take a look and see what you have to offer and everything.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, and it's again, put my coaching back hat on it. As much as I'd love to sell you more plates, people will often say that, I have these plates I can't buy, and I'm like, hey, I don't care. I want you to lift 3 days a week. I want you to lift 3 days a week and get strong so that you need more plates. Then call me, and you can buy some more, but like just be consistent with what you have.
Yeah,
the equipment is definitely not what's holding you back.
Yeah.
So people might think though.
That's right.
I just had that Rogue barbell. I'd be squatting way more.
That's right.
So we got some fun rapid fire questions for you, and then we'll just finish up. All right.
Sounds good.
All right. So most of these are just you just pick one, and there's a few like yay or nay, like yes or no. Okay. All
Okay.
right. We got upper body or lower body.
Lower body.
35-pound plates, yay or nay.
Yay. Buy them all. But
Push-ups.
I know it's a yay or nay, but if I'm honest with that, when people ask what I actually think about 35s, I say I didn't want to miss out on the whole line because I didn't have one offering. But if you walk into my gym in South Carolina or Costa Mesa, you'll notice a plate variant that's not there, and that tells you everything you need to know.
Thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
Push-ups or pull-ups.
Pull-ups.
CrossFit, yay or nay.
Yay.
Long runs or sprints.
Sprints.
New York or Chicago style pizza.
Oof, New York all the way. It's not even in the same category.
Give us a little one bite. Everybody knows the rule.
That's right. That's a pizza review time. Let's see. Where are we? We're at the corner of Frankie. Is it Maine? And yeah, no, I enjoy those.
That's awesome. All right, so where can people find you, Grant?
www.thestrength.co is going to be your hub for kind of everything. You can see all the products on the far right side. There's a media page. We do 2 to 3 YouTube videos a week. The goal of the YouTube channel is to take everything I've learned from coaching for over a decade, every excuse I've heard, every problem that's been thrown, and answer it. So the idea is, hey, if I was lifting on my own, this is a problem I'd run into. I type that into YouTube, and hopefully we pop up with a solution there. So if you want free content, you don't want to buy anything, go there and do it. If you want a form check, I always tell people I'm free on X. You just have to post it publicly. If you post your squat, your deadlift, your bench press, and you want me to critique it, and you post it publicly and tag me at Grant SSC, I'll break it down. If you DM it to me, if you pull my number off the website, if you send it to me in a Instagram message, I will not do it. But if you do it publicly, I'll answer it. We're on all the medias. We're even talking. TikTok, and so you can find us in all sorts of places.
Well, Grant, thank you so much for being on. We definitely really appreciate it. And if you were ever in Chattanooga, Tennessee, we'd love to.
Oh, you're not that far.
Yeah. Well, I thought you were in California at first, but I was like, oh,
yeah,
you're in South Carolina.
Okay.
We'd love to get a lift in with you.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Heck yeah.
Only if we update the plates first.
That's right.
All right, we'll give us some time.
Yeah, that's all right.
All right, well, thank you, Grant. And everyone, remember, you're human. We should not seek perfection, but daily improvement. See you guys.